These long dog days of summer, I mean, we just made it through a heat wave. Mama was parched through this heat wave. I was hitting up Duncan every single day, and I will continue to probably for the rest of my days, but especially this summer. Duncan is helping everyone stay cool this summer with its lineup of refreshers. These drinks are packed with bold, fruity flavors and served ice cold. It's amazing. Dunkin' refreshers are the perfect afternoon pick-me-up. I like to start my morning with them personally, and then sometimes I go back for a second one because I'm just feeling crazy. They come in a variety of delicious flavors, including fan favorites mango pineapple and strawberry dragon fruit. And then for a limited time, there's black cherry and there's pink pineapple. I'm going to tell you something right now, and it's a bold claim, let me tell you, but I stand behind it. Pink pineapple will change your life. It is so good. It has me feeling like I'm sitting in a pool, resort side, just living, honey. It's so yummy. Try your favorite flavor with green tea, sparkling water, lemonade, or Dunkin's all-new limeade. I haven't tried the limeade yet, but I'm going to. Usually I get my drinks made with green tea and occasionally lemonade, but I do really like the green tea. Or if you don't want to build your own, try one of Dunkin's curated refreshers like the Cherry Lime Ricky or the Ultimate Pink Daydream. The Cherry Lime Ricky, scrumptious. I could drink like 3 of these a day. They're so freaking yummy. Head to Dunkin' today and find your favorite refresher. Dunkin' refreshers contain less than 1% fruit juice. Limited time offer. You know what's really terrifying? That unfinished college degree lurking in the background, just sitting there, waiting for you. That's where Southern New Hampshire University comes in. With flexible online degree programs, there's no commuting, no rigid schedule, and no more excuses. Plus, they have some of the lowest online tuition rates in the U.S. Visit snhu.edu/morbid to learn more before your degree becomes just another story about what could have been. Chilling crime cases are mysterious, but finding coverage shouldn't be. With the State Farm Personal Price Plan, you have options and can personalize your plan to help create an affordable price so you can get back to cracking all of life's bigger cases. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can choose to bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Head to statefarm.com to get a quote. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state. Hey, weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And this is Morbid.
This is Morbid, and we are in part 2 of Fred and Rosemary West.
Oh God, the fact that we're only on part 2 right now.
Yeah.
Just like all of the information in part 1, like all of the deranged, diabolical information.
Yeah.
And that's just one part, y'all. This is going to get so much worse.
One part, y'all.
These are horrible people.
These are very bad. Like, these are very bad. And I know I said that in part 1. But it can't be stressed enough how bad this is. And again, another blanket trigger warning for horrific sexual abuse and assault. And just really terrible things. They're terrible. This is terrible. I'm questioning myself for deciding to agree to do this.
Well, it takes an effect on your psyche.
It really does. I'm not, like I've said this before about other cases, but I think this one is akin to the Myra Hindley and Ian Brady one that really took a little bit of a toll. Yeah. This one's taken a toll. And so I will be very glad when we wrap it up.
Yeah.
But it's a story that needs to be told because it's horrific. And these people, a lot of their victims, not all of them, but a lot of them came from really dysfunctional trauma in their lives to begin with.
Yeah.
And this is how they were taken out of the world.
That's absolutely awful.
And that's what kills me is it's like they went through all this awful trauma. They were young, a lot of them, you know what I mean? And some of them were their own children.
That part is just, I don't know why you have kids if you know that you're, I mean, probably because you know you're that evil, but
exactly.
It's inconceivable. The whole thing.
And the other thing is that these children, and it's easy to forget when you're reading about all these horrible things that are happening to these, girls and young women who they're picking up, that there's kids in the house and they're seeing most of the things that are going on in this house. Like that's the stuff that's like, all of it is really getting to me. It's a tough one.
Especially as a mother.
Yeah, there's just like a lot. They're just really brutal. These are really, really brutal, awful people who did awful, awful things. But again, it's an important story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this will be part 2. I'm thinking this is going to end up being 4 parts because there's just a lot of information. And as much as it's, there's a lot to digest in each part, like this part 2 is gonna be heavy with information and heavy with some gnarly stuff. So I don't want to just shove a lot of gnarly stuff into an episode so that things get lost and things, and I need a minute after, what I mean? So I'm going to try to break it, I think, into 4 just so we can have a second between each one. And also I think afterwards I'll try to do some kind of actual palate cleanser for me and for you.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Because I'm certainly going to need it because this has been a tough one. It really is like the Ian and Myra one to me.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and after that one, I needed a minute. So,
I think everybody did. And I think that was another 4-parter.
Yeah, I think it was at least 4 parts. So, we're going to get through this. And, this is a very highly requested case. So,
it is.
And it's also, not from the United States. So it's one of those that you don't know how many people know totally about it. You might have heard the names, but you don't know the details.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of these details. So the last we left on, we were talking about Fred finally meeting Rose.
Yeah. And he was still with his first, were they ever married?
Rena,
were they married?
They were married, yep.
And he's still with her at this point.
Yeah, but it's
it's so tumultuous.
There's so much happening. Yeah. But this is really, this is the moment, is when he met Rose.
Oy.
So let's talk about who Rose is. You've heard her called by Rose and Rosemary. Her full name is Rosemary Pauline Letts. And she was born in Northam, Devon, England on November 29th, 1953. Her parents were Bill and Daisy Letts. Interesting that her mother is also named Daisy.
Yeah, that is
Fred's
interesting.
mother's name is Daisy, and it's just such a sweet name.
It is. I know. You never expect anything bad from a Daisy.
No. She was described as remarkably unintelligent. Her siblings nicknamed her Dozy Rosie. Yeah, and her brother Andrew said, quote, she was as thick as 2 planks.
Oh,
so
as thick as 2 planks.
Not rolling with a lot, apparently. In the years that followed their arrest, later down the line, Rose's siblings also described her as engagingly stupid, dense, and naive.
Jesus.
Oh, and remarkably lazy.
So she's the total package.
There is no denying that Rose Letts' early life was not great.
Yeah.
And a lot of ridicule, not a lot of affection, not a lot of she was rarely told anything positive about herself, which as a child, that sucks.
And it's just not conducive to anybody growing up and being a great person.
Yeah, it's just
obviously it happens and people find their way out of that.
But it's starting off on a rough foot.
Yeah.
And some people can make it out of that rough foot, but some people can't.
And if there's already underlying shit there, which I'm sure there is in this case, then
it's even worse.
Yeah.
Now, given that she had such an unfortunate upbringing and a really stunted social and intellectual development to work with, it's not really surprising that she would be drawn into a man like Fred West.
Yeah.
In 1969, she was 15 years old.
Super young.
Yeah. She was working at a tea shop around Bishop's Cleeve, not far from where Fred and Rena were living at the time. One night, while she was waiting for the bus at the bus stop after work, Fred, this was his thing. He loved a bus stop.
Loves a bus stop.
He approached her and began talking to her, just making small talk. Rose kind of tried to ignore him at first because she's 15 and he's a disgusting creep.
Yeah.
So despite later what happens where they end up having one of the most horrific and weird relationships you will ever hear about. At this moment, Rose thought he looked filthy. He looked unkempt, like just really gross. And he was being like lewd and lascivious, like just wasn't anything to be attracted to.
Spot the lie.
And also it's like your first instinct is true.
Yeah, follow that gut feeling.
Follow that. But when you find out who Rose is later, you're like, oh, monster beget monster. Like just that she's horrific as well.
Do you think that she always had the potential to be horrific, or do you think that this relationship brought it out in her?
I think the relationship, and obviously this is just me like
This
speculating,
is
but I think the relationship definitely opened the doors for her that this was okay behavior.
And like harvested.
Somebody was saying yes and somebody was giving her encouragement
And validation.
And positive, but I don't think that's not to take any responsibility away from her because she enjoyed herself.
Yeah.
And it's like she did horrific shit. She had a really nasty, nasty streak inside of her that I think it was brewing to something bad.
So that leads you to believe that it was always there and that, like you said, the door was just opened.
Yeah, I think
here.
monster just met monster.
The door was there.
And they were able to kind of run free together as monsters. Yikes. I think that's really what it comes down to. She's young at this point. So I don't even think she knew the depths of her own depravity.
Yeah.
But I think it was in there.
Yeah.
And I think this older piece of shit was able to draw it out of her. But I think it was there. But who knows if it would have been drawn out.
Yeah.
Other than that, nobody can say, unfortunately. But yeah, it was not a good first impression. Rose would describe the experience to a classmate, actually, and went as far as to say that Fred had a leering smile and that his smile was all ganky and green.
Green?
Yeah.
Green?
Yeah.
No, mama.
Now, despite how she felt about him after their first encounter, Fred did win her over.
What?
Yeah, he repeatedly sought her out at the bus stop. He went back and back and back, and he eventually won her over.
She really loved a determined man.
Yeah. So Rose had never really had any close friends and was accustomed to negative attention from her siblings and peers. So the attention from Fred, who is an older man, is probably being... I mean, he was disgusting in the way that he would approach women, especially in young girls. Mm-hmm. So I think this is the only positive attention that she's getting. So
it's like what she was used to.
She found it flattering. And there was something that she described it, and this is like, they're horrifying.
Yeah, of course.
She said that he was inherently sexual and that excited her. Which you look at Fred West and you're like, what? And again, Fred had been doing this for a long time, since he was a teenager. Like he's been preying on young girls and he's been a predator for a long time. So he's gotten very good at grooming his young victims.
Yeah.
And honestly, and he could say these horrible things, but he has groomed them into thinking this is flattery.
Right.
But Rose was excited by it and actually appeared kind of to welcome his crude behavior and language. Now, and usually when Fred would do this, he would come across a lot of resistance to that kind of behavior and that kind of language because a lot of young girls are like, you're gross.
Get the fuck away from me.
But he was like shocked by this. Now, this probably seemed as like a little game to Rose at first because she was very unhappy. She had a lot of low self-esteem. So this was probably just like a fun little like, he's paying attention to me.
Yeah.
And later, after the arrests, Rose's brother Andrew said, quote, her idea of being grown up was going out with someone a lot older. And so this makes sense.
Right.
He said he was basically saying that it didn't even bother Rose that Fred was married. She knew that. Like, Rose didn't care. But he also, so he drew her in with that, like, I'm married. But then he said Rena had left him with 2 small children and was working as a sex worker in Glasgow. So he was playing both sides.
He paints the picture that he wants people to see.
Exactly. But the truth was that at the time that he met her, Rena was just visiting family in Glasgow.
Like just away for a little
just
bit.
like away visiting family. And apparently Rose at this time really loved kids, which is really horrifying when you think of later what happens.
And who she becomes.
But it's, and Dave brought this up and I thought it was a really good thing to point out. She loved kids because she didn't have any responsibility to kids.
Yeah.
Kids are great when you can,
When they're not yours.
like when you're 15 and you get to play with a baby for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's it. But when she had to be
In charge.
had to sacrifice
Right.
and had to be responsible,
That's
these
a whole
children,
different story.
It changed. But because Fred had Charmaine and Anne Marie, who were two young girls, that only made him more attractive to her. Because look, he has two kids and I get to be like play mom for a little while.
And that's the thing. Their mom is still very much part of their life at this point. So she
Yeah.
gets to put that hat on and take it off when she wants
Exactly.
to.
She doesn't have to be.
And they're
the
not even
full time.
married at this point
No.
either. So
No.
she can come and go as she pleases.
Exactly.
And play mommy.
Now, in time, Rose started lying to her parents, telling them that she had found work as a cleaner, when in fact she was spending all her time with Fred. Eventually, she introduced Fred to her parents.
How'd that go?
He tried to be charming to them, but they were like, absolutely not. Like, what the fuck? Daisy Letts said, immediately we thought he was an older man. He was 27, but he did not look young for his age. Can confirm.
Also, what the fuck are you doing at 27 years old?
27.
I am 27 years old.
With a 15-year-old.
That's disgusting.
15.
That actually like makes me physically
Yeah, it
ill.
makes my stomach literally churn.
That's literally a sophomore in high school.
Yeah. And this is just how he's foul.
Like, what do you have in common?
Nothing. He doesn't need anything.
No, and he doesn't.
That's the thing.
Getting paid twice a month doesn't mean money is scarce. It just feels that way. That feeling makes you do weird stuff, like putting things on a card you didn't need to. Earnin removes that feeling. With Earnin, you can access up to $150 per day of money you've already earned, plus up to $1,000 between paychecks. Standard transfers take 1 to 2 business days with no mandatory fees, and expedited transfers start at $3.99 and cap at $5.99. 5 million people are already on it, and honestly, it's wild it didn't exist sooner. Download Earnin on the App Store or Google Play, spelled like earning money without the G. Type in Morbid under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Earnin is a financial technology company, not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors. Standard cash outs take 1 to 2 business days with no mandatory fees. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Tips are voluntary and don't affect the service. Available in select states. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details. Chilling crime cases are mysterious, but finding coverage shouldn't be. With the State Farm Personal Price Plan, you have options and can personalize your plan to help create an affordable price so you can get back to cracking all of life's bigger cases. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can choose to bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Head to statefarm.com to get a quote. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Now, after that initial meeting, Rose's parents were like, no, we don't like him. This is fucked up. And they demanded that she stop seeing him. But there was very little they could do to stop the relationship because she had agreed to take on full-time work as nanny to Fred and Rose's children.
That always goes so well.
Now,
this is like my biggest fear, having children. When they get to the age where like they can bring somebody home and you can say no fucking way, but you
Yes.
kind of can't.
but that's like not having that control of like, I just need to let you make mistakes.
Right.
But like some of these mistakes can be life altering and I don't
clearly
want you
are.
to do that.
Like thinking of some of the like people even that I dated when I was like not 15, but like a little bit older.
Oh my God.
And honestly, even hearing your opinions and being like, fuck off.
Yeah.
But then like knowing that like I'm going to go through that with my kids and they're going to be like, fuck off. I'm like, oh.
No, I know. I think of like,
Because when you're young, you don't sorry
see
to
it.
go on like such a tizzy with this, but when you're young, you don't see it.
No,
like
you
you
don't.
see through the adult eyes of like how bad things could possibly go.
because you just don't have the experience under your belt.
And you're invincible.
Exactly.
You
yeah, nothing can happen to me.
exactly.
And he's nice to me sometimes. So that's all that matters. You know?
Exactly. Oh,
Now,
it's so scary.
I know. Now, frustrated with their daughter's relationship, Bill and Daisy Letts reported to police that their teenage daughter was having a sexual relationship with an adult and suspected she was also being forced into sex work at the caravan park.
Oh, man.
So good on these parents at this moment, at least at Daisy Letts, for reporting this.
Yeah.
And not just being like, well, whatever.
What am I gonna do?
Because especially at this time, a lot of stories you hear is that parents are just like, well, let them make their mistake.
What was I going to do?
But the report prompted a brief investigation. And in the summer of 1969, Rose was removed from the home and placed in a home for troubled girls. Oh. Which she described as being like a prison.
Yeah.
Which, absolutely.
It's sad, too, that, like, that's the answer. That's the solution, but it's almost never a better place.
It almost always makes it worse.
Yeah.
But despite all of this, Rose continued seeing Fred. She was sneaking out of the home whenever she could, and especially when she knew Rena wouldn't be at home. In fact, throughout this whole period, Rena had carried on life much as she had while Fred was having an affair with Anna McFall, just kind of bouncing back and forth between Gloucestershire and Glasgow, with only like a little bit of a naive awareness of what was going on.
That's really sad.
In November 1969, Rose turned 16 years old and was released from the home and returned to her parents for a brief period of time, and then moved in with Fred to an apartment that he started renting after once again placing his children in foster care.
I don't understand how you can just place them and then get them back and then place them again.
That it's like
if you, I don't know.
But Bill and Daisy Letts spent months trying to convince their daughter to end the relationship, culminating in their making another report to the police. They were not letting this go.
Good for them.
So this time, though, investigators arranged for Rose to be examined by a doctor. And in February 1970, learned that she was pregnant with Fred's baby.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Now, due to the pregnancy and her refusal to leave Fred, Rose was placed in another troubled girls' home. A month later, Rose was released from the home after agreeing to end the pregnancy and her relationship. But instead of returning to her parents, she moved into Fred's apartment.
Oh, no.
There was really nothing else that Bill and Daisy felt like they could do, so they told her, if you continue this relationship with Fred West, you are no longer welcome in our home.
That's so tough. And you have to think of like what it took to get to that point. Because we know these big major events, but I'm sure there was smaller things
probably
in
many
between.
little ones in between. Now, in October, Rose gave birth to a girl she named Heather, but any joy that she felt about a new baby was pretty short-lived because just a couple months after Heather was born, Fred was arrested for stealing car parts, and he, of course, immediately blamed it on Rena, but he was sentenced to 8 months in prison. Not only did Fred's jail sentence entirely disrupt this whole romanticized fantasy for the future that Rose had concocted, but it also meant that at just 17 years old, she was now a single mother for not one, but 3 children.
Oh my God.
Now, for Rose, who was still a teenager, remember?
Yeah, 17?
Yeah, the whole affair with Fred likely seemed adventurous, romantic, fantasy. Exactly the kind of dramatic scenario that could distract and eventually free her from the environment that she felt like she was living in.
Yeah.
However, having been effectively disowned by her family and temporarily separated from Fred, the consequences of her actions and decisions were starting to become unavoidant.
Yeah.
At this point. Or unavoidable, I should say, excuse me. And they were not as romantic at this time than she was initially thinking they would be.
Being 17 years old and a single mother to 3 children.
Yeah.
At 17, think of who you were at 17.
Yeah, no.
And like obviously people do it and it's fucking remarkable, but like
it's literally remarkable.
But
being thrust into that, I can't even fathom.
I could not.
Now, at first, she loved the idea of being in a relationship with a man who had children. Like I said, she loved kids because she never had any true responsibility to Charmaine or Anne-Marie.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, once she'd left her parents' home for good and was responsible for 3 children 24/7, she quickly learned that it's a lot harder than it looks.
Especially to go into it with 3.
Yeah.
Not just 1. Like 1 is hard enough, but 3.
Yeah. Now, according to Rose, Anne-Marie was a very quiet, very easy, what she described as a docile child.
Oh.
Which I don't love that being a way to describe a child.
It seems like a word for an animal.
Yeah. But she said that Charmaine was often willful and defiant.
Probably because she knew her dad hated her.
Yeah. And also, she wasn't responding well to Rose being her new authority figure. Who the fuck is this?
Well, and at this point, how many has she had?
And also, well, and Charmaine is like 8
Yeah.
at this point. Like, she's like,
where's my
who
mom?
are you? Now, so the two of them, Rose and Charmaine, definitely clashed way more. And Rose always felt so frustrated, and she would tell Fred about it. And things only got worse once Fred went to prison, and Rose was solely responsible for the girls because she just wasn't up for the task. She wasn't a mother. Not long after he went to prison, Rose began resorting to physical punishment whenever Charmaine would act out or defy her.
That's all.
Neighbors would recall Rose frequently berating Charmaine in public and often saw evidence of the physical abuse on Charmaine's body.
That makes you sick.
So, like, fuck you,
off.
Rose. But no matter what Rose did, and this is really, really sad, and I just need to warn you, but it shows you how broken these poor children were. No matter what she did, Charmaine refused to cry.
Oh.
And that only made Rose angrier.
And to know that at like 8 years old, she knows, like, fuck you, I'm not going to cry.
Well, and her sister, Anne Marie, said she felt like if she cried, she was giving in.
And
At
at
8.
8 years old to think that way. Like, that's your kids. That's my nieces. Like,
It, like,
8 year, like, you're
this
a baby.
is what this case is just.
Just to put that into context, that's a second grader.
That's a second grader.
That's
Refusing
so
to
sad.
cry because they don't want to give you the satisfaction because they hate you so much.
And they know
to
that
have
you
that
get
kind of hate
satisfaction
already, deserved hate. Like you should hate this person.
But it's literally
But to
been beat
know
into
that
you.
kind of hate at 8 years old, they should never know that kind of hate for anyone at 8 years old. Like, you shouldn't even know the feeling of hate at that point.
No.
Like, life shouldn't have given you that feeling yet.
Nope.
It just kills me. Now, in March 1971, just days after Charmaine's 8th birthday, Rose took her to a Gloucester Royal Hospital for treatment of a rather serious puncture wound on her leg.
A puncture wound?
And Rose said it was an accident.
What?
But it's like, what the fuck did you do?
Exactly. Like, what?
Yeah. Now, in May, Rose sent a letter to Fred while he's in prison, where she said that she believed that Charmaine's poor behavior and defiant attitude was beginning to affect Anne Marie's behavior. She said, quote, "You can see Char coming out in Anna now, and I hate it." And her frustration can be seen in several of the letters after that. But on visits to the prison, they did everything in their power to look like they were one big happy family because she forced those kids to pretend that they liked her.
In front of prison officials.
Yeah, because we don't want them knowing. Now,
Like, also, you didn't have to have these kids. You brought them to foster care how many times at this point?
seriously,
You almost think it, like, foster care is no fucking joke, but you almost think it would have been better.
I know.
I mean, probably not, but
It's all this. It's just,
it's so many varying degrees
there
of
really
horrific.
is. Now, on a June 15th visit to Fred in prison, Rose was elated to learn that he might get paroled the following week. And 5 days later, Charmaine went missing.
What?
Rose has never said what happened to Charmaine.
And she was 8.
8. But during her trial, the prosecutor told the jury, quote, "There is clear evidence that Charmaine was greatly disliked by Rosemary West and that she had been abusive towards the girl in the past." One afternoon, shortly before Fred's return home, Anne Marie, her sister, Charmaine's sister, returned home from school to find Rose at home and not Charmaine. And when she asked where Charmaine was, Rose told her Charmaine had gone to live with her mother. In truth, investigators do believe that sometime in late June, Rose lost her temper like she always did with Charmaine and inadvertently, possibly, killed the child.
Wow. And what happened with Rena? Like, she never...
Oh, don't worry, we'll find out. Now, when Fred was finally paroled on June 24th and returned home, Rose led him down to the basement where she had left Charmaine's body. Fred removed Charmaine's body from the basement and buried her in a grave he dug in the backyard of their rented home on Midland Road. His 8-year-old daughter.
That he had never, ever loved or treated
No.
well. Like, that poor girl just knew hatred her
All she knew
entire
was-
8 years of life.
Was horror.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
And the fact that it gets worse. Like, that's
Yeah.
beyond.
Yeah. It's beyond comprehension. It really is.
I hate this case.
Although she had been out of the picture for some time, Rena was obviously very anxious about the welfare of her children and would frequently check in with Fred's family and hope that they would give her some information because she was basically being like pushed out of the whole scenario. By the summer of 1971, Rena got so anxious and she was so alarmed with Fred's family unable to give her any information about her daughters that she decided to go to Fred and Rose's apartment and demand that he give her the girls. It was sometime in late August that she showed up at Fred's door, and he just flatly refused to let her see either of the girls. So in desperation, she threatened to go to Fred's father, Walter, for help, and that's when he said, sure, and he agreed to take Rena to see Charmaine.
Oh, no.
Now, like some of the earlier crimes, Fred denied playing any part in Rena's murder. So details of the murder are murky. But investigators believe that Rena got into Fred's car expecting to be taken to see her daughter, but instead he drove her to a local pub where he got her incredibly drunk. What happened next is, again, we only have what we can go on, but investigators speculate that based on the state of Rena's remains that were recovered from a shallow grave in Letterbox Field, which is not far from where Anna McFall's remains were buried.
Interesting.
Investigators believe that Fred left the bar with Rena, who was by then too drunk to really put up any kind of fight, and he strangled her and dismembered her body and placed her remains in 2 plastic bags that he buried in the field. When she was exhumed, they also discovered a narrow piece of chromium pipe and a red plastic child's boomerang in the grave with her. Because so much time had passed and because Fred refused to take any responsibility for the crime, no official cause of death could be determined, and investigators could never conclusively link him to the crime.
That's so frustrating because it's
But he
so
obviously
clear.
did it. Now, in the months that followed, no one came looking for Rena West or even seemed to notice that she was missing.
Because she also came from like an awful
He surrounded
background.
himself with people like that so he could take advantage of them. Rena had spent most of her life, like we said, in and out of trouble, bouncing back and forth between Gloucestershire and Glasgow. And so it wasn't entirely out of her character to disappear for stretches of time without really telling anyone where she was going.
Mm-hmm.
With Charmaine and Rena out of the way now for good, and Fred and Rose bonded over their fucking disgusting way of existing and their shared secrets at this point, they were free to finally marry and begin building the family Rose had always dreamed of.
She literally murdered his child. Like, obviously, Charmaine was not his child, but
yeah, but like his child for all intents and purposes. He
claimed her and was like, I know you can't have Rena. And then Rose murdered a little 8-year-old. He comes home from prison and finds that. Then they kill her mom. And then they say, let's get married.
So we can finally start our family.
Let's start our family.
Yeah.
Now that we've gotten rid of everybody that wasn't our family.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And poor Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Like, is like, where's my sister? Where's my mom?
And she goes through it. She really goes through it.
God.
It's really awful. But over the course of this life, Fred West had come to realize that people, and women in particular, would resist or, recoil from the things that he liked when it came to sex and violence. Like, he couldn't find people that really dug what he was into because
it was horrible.
He was a different brand. But with Rose, Fred seemed to have found a kindred spirit.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, of course, it's possible, since she's 17 at this point, that, she was just going along with his plans and indulging his interests in the more extreme fetishes and things that were going on just to keep him happy. But it can't be said enough that there is a lot of solid evidence that shows that Rose enjoyed this as much as he did.
Okay.
Like, there's solid evidence
The
that
evidence
suggests
speaks.
that she was very much a part of this and was not being dragged along for the ride. Now, Fred had never been especially shy about his extreme interests.
That's it. You almost don't even want to call it a fetish.
That's the thing, because I'm like, I don't even know how to explain it.
Well, I guess there's a
like
difference between a fetish and a kink.
That's the thing. And also his was like a derangement. Like he wasn't doing things with consent.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And it's like, that's not,
His is like
that's
deviant.
not a kink. That's not a fetish. That's something entirely different. Like the whole point of that kind of stuff is consent.
Right.
I feel like that's a large part of that.
Yup.
Which can't be stated enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like this doesn't represent like a BDSM situation because there's no consent.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, it's like so that doesn't represent this here at all. This is very much like its own sadistic off.
This part of the show is brought to you by Anua, the Korean skincare brand known for scientific, gentle, yet effective formulations. The latest from Anua is the Retinol Collagen Gua Sha Cream, a firming cream with a gua sha-shaped tip built right in. Have you guys heard of gua sha? It's that viral massage tool that moves fluid and tension out of your face. Less puffiness, a snatched jawline, honey, more definition in your face. Retinol firms and reduces fine lines, and collagen keeps your skin plump and structured. This cream has both of those things, arguably the most optimal combo for that snatched, lifted look all in one step. I am obsessed with the Gua Sha cream. First of all, it feels so cool to the touch. When you put that on your face, it's just like, this is lovely. It's like a little spa treatment that you can give yourself. I like to do mine at night after I get out of the shower. I rub the cream on my face with the little gua sha. I'm sculpting that jawline, honey. I got it on the cheekbones. And actually, I had a facial the other day, and the lady doing my facial, the professional, she said, "Do you use a gua sha at home?" And I said, "I do." And I said, "How did you know that?" And she said, "I didn't have those little like bumps in my chin or like different areas like that." So she could tell that I was using the gua sha. And I said, "Oh my God." I just feel like I wake up less puffy in the morning when I do it the night before. But you can do it whenever you want to. I, 10 out of 10, recommend this product. The Anua Gua Sha Cream value set is available at anua.com, already discounted. Use code MORBID for an extra 10% off. That's ANUA.com, code MORBID. The Sherwin-Williams summer sale is here. Get 30% off select paints and stains or 35% off their newest product, Emerald Symmetry, July 17th through the 27th. Whether you're looking to refresh your interior or your exterior, they've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Full shit. It's sinister. So he had never been shy about this. Like he'd been pretty open about it, but he had also become aware that others would probably find a lot of these things unacceptable.
Well, and I think that's probably another part of it that he found joy in.
He liked that people thought it was gross.
Yeah.
But in Rose, he found someone who's not only not shocked by his interests, but at times was interested in pursuing them with him. And in the months after Rena's murder, Fred and Rose began engaging in threesomes that were allowing Rose to decide how far she wanted to take this whole thing. And it began when Fred and Rose propositioned a neighbor who they became friendly with, and they knew this neighbor was lonely, so they knew that they would likely agree. And soon they made a habit of going out at night to pick up especially young women.
Like,
that's
not
the thing.
of age.
Like, there's no consent being had here. And it was during these encounters that they began exploring what they would later call like S&M and bondage.
But it's not that.
That's not what they are. Like, that's not what they are. There's no consent.
Right.
This is just sinister, awful shit.
Right.
But unfortunately, this brand of what they were into would become kind of a hallmark of their murders and their crimes. Mm-hmm. And which is what makes them so shocking. Now, on January 29th, 1972, Fred and Rose were married in a small ceremony at the Gloucester Register office, with only Fred's brother John there to be a witness. Very few people were made aware of the marriage at all, and those who were aware of it, none really brought up the fact that like he was still legally married to Rena.
Yeah, there is that whole part of it.
And even in the paperwork, his first marriage is really not even referenced.
Also, was anyone asking where Charmaine was? Like, everyone just accepted that, like, did they think she, like, ran away?
I think the whole idea that he put out there and why he got rid of Rena as he said, Rena has Charmaine, and I don't know where either one of them are.
And she just, like, left Anna with us.
She just
Cool.
Just took Charmaine and bye.
Got it.
Now, a few months later, after they got married, Rose became pregnant, and they both decided, well, we're going to have a larger family, so let's get a larger house. And this is when they moved from their small rental on Midland Road into a much larger house at the very infamous, at this time, 25 Cromwell Street.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the majority of their murders would take place. And I think anybody living in this part of the world knows that address and is probably getting a shiver down their spine hearing that address.
Has their house been demolished?
Yeah, I think it's gone.
I thought so, yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Now, at first, Fred agreed to rent the modest Cromwell Street house from their landlord of their previous home, but eventually he bought the property outright. In order to supplement their income, Fred and Rose decided to convert one of the floors into a room for rent kind of situation.
Yeah.
Typically, these situations were more like a roommate scenario where a person would rent a room in a house, but that gave them access to the kitchen, bathroom, so on.
The main, shared living spaces.
In this case, though, Fred wanted to keep the West's living space entirely separate from that was used by any lodgers that were renting. So he installed a kitchen and a wash area on one of the landings. He didn't want them coming into the main house for reasons we now know.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why.
Now, being in an area popular with students, it really didn't take long for Fred and Rose to find lodgers. In the spring of 1972, 18-year-old Benjamin Staniland moved into the West's home, and he shared a room there with his friend Alan Davis. And as they would often do, Fred and Rose wasted no time here testing the boundaries with their new lodgers. That became their thing.
Testing boundaries.
Somebody would come into their life and they would test those boundaries and see how far those people would let them go. And if they wouldn't let them go far enough, that they wanted to go, they would just force themselves upon them.
Oh.
But they liked to see if somebody would let them. Now, so it began with Rose sneaking into these boys' bedrooms not long after they moved in and having sex with both of them.
Like having sex with, or?
According to her, consensual sex.
Okay.
And she apparently, and even Benjamin Staniland, who was 18 at the time, said later that she discussed it with Fred and he didn't seem to mind.
Alrighty.
Now
what the fuck?
Yeah.
We thought it was weird that the Black sisters just watched people sleep.
Yeah, that seems downright wholesome at this point.
It sure does.
Now, around that time, Benjamin Staniland began dating a local girl, 17-year-old Linda Goff. And like many girls that we're going to hear about in this story, Linda had a very difficult childhood and also likely had an intellectual disability of some sort that actually made it so that she had to attend a school for children with learning disabilities.
Oh, wow.
By the time she was in her mid-teens, though, Linda had, according to those around her, become very defiant. And at 16, she dropped out of school and she ended up finding a job as a seamstress at a local dress shop. Her mother said later, she made it clear to us that what she did was her business.
Okay.
It was through Benjamin that Linda met Fred and Rose West. Mm-hmm. A few months earlier, Fred's son Stephen had come to live with the Wests, making the very pregnant Rose responsible for 3 children. And in June, Rose gave birth to a girl they named May. Oh. And yes, Mae West.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
That would bring the total to 4 children in this house now.
I was like, wait, when did he even have a son?
Yeah, he's everywhere. Now, Fred and Rose suggested that Linda come on as their full-time nanny in exchange for room and board, an offer she would eventually and very unfortunately accept. Mm-hmm. Now, Fred and Rose had obviously committed acts of violent assault and murder prior to 1972, but for the most part, these acts seemed like they were opportunistic, accidental, or what they claim is
Quote,
accidental,
unquote.
I should say, quote unquote, or how they saw as solving a problem, like, Anna McFall, Rena West. And while they had begun exploring their interests in different, sexual interests with others, but again, they did so sometimes with consent, but oftentimes
always.
not. And even when there was consent, they were very much blurring the boundaries on more than one occasion.
Yeah, like sneaking into someone's room and then having that already not super consensual.
There's a lot of blurred lines happening even when they're claiming, because they love to claim later that no, everybody just wanted to have sex with us. And it's like, nope, I don't think so. They're literally depraved humans. Like
Yep.
that can't be stated enough here. And by the end of 1972, they began going down a road that just escalated into horror, pure horror. In late November 1972, Fred and Rose were on their way to a local pub when they saw a young woman hitchhiking on the road. And this is the 70s, remember?
Right.
Never one to pass up a potential opportunity, Fred pulled the car over and asked this woman, 17-year-old Caroline Owens, where she was going. She was trying to thumb a ride home, which was nearly 25 miles in the opposite direction. But Fred said, "Hey, come on in. We can give you a ride." And she accepted.
And a lot of times they were able to get people in the car because they saw things like a car seat, right?
Oh, yeah. And sometimes they had the kids in the car.
Good. Awesome.
Yep. As they drove, they all chatted about Caroline's life. She was one of 15 children.
Wow.
And apparently, according to her, she hated living at home. She said she really didn't like her stepfather and, she was just very unhappy. And she had recently started looking for a new job and a new place to live. So without hesitation, Fred and Rose said, "Oh my goodness, we need a new nanny for our children." They don't need one.
Nope.
They just asked Linda to be their nanny.
Literally just got one.
And they offered the job to Caroline, who said, "Awesome, I'll think it over." So Caroline called the Wests, because they do play a long game sometimes. Caroline called the Wests a few days later and said after talking it over with her mother, she would accept the job.
Oh,
But almost immediately after moving in, Caroline was like,
this is
what the
weird.
fuck is this? She didn't have a room to herself. She was actually sharing a room with 8-year-old Anna.
Weird.
And Caroline liked the West children. She was like, they were great, but she was like, Anna's very sad.
Oh.
She's 8 years old.
And she lost her mom and her sister.
And she said, she was quoted as saying she was withdrawn when Fred and Rose were around.
And that tells
So she
you a
withdrew
lot.
very much when they were around. But she said the most horrifying and off-putting thing in this house was Fred and Rose themselves. She said at times it seemed Rose would intentionally invade her privacy in moments where she was like going to the bathroom, like taking
Just,
a
like, normal
shower. Like she would
stuff.
just walk into the room like intentionally.
Yeah.
She would touch her legs while they were talking. Like she was very like gropey and gross.
Yeah.
And like they did with many of their victims, Fred and Rose were testing to see how far they could take
Yep.
it. Whenever they were alone together, Fred would talk about sex in a very crude and aggressive way. And sometimes he would reveal very unsavory and like very scary things to her, but then he would backtrack it. So he would see how she would react and then take it back.
Right.
And she said, and so Caroline said, Rose wasn't like, didn't appear threatening to her. Like she was like something about another woman. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's disarming.
You're supposed to feel a little like,
Oh, she's fine. She's
camaraderie,
just
you know?
weird.
And she was like, but I really disliked Fred. She was like, Rose was like weirding me out, but I was threatened by Fred.
Yeah, I could see that.
She said he was a little man with a big head. And she said he was so cocky, a know-it-all. And then she said he also clearly took pleasure in making her feel very uncomfortable.
Ew.
That seemed to be his thing. And between that and Rose's increasingly very overt and very aggressive sexual like touching of her, after just a few weeks, Caroline was like, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
And she
like,
left.
gotta go.
She was like, fuck that.
Can you imagine knowing afterwards what
Well,
she avoided?
It gets worse. Caroline doesn't get out like scot-free.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
unfortunately. Now, Caroline leaving the house was a great disappointment to Rose, who had actually developed like a strong attraction to Caroline. And she was angry. Like she was very angry.
Felt slighted.
She told Fred if Caroline wouldn't have sex with her willingly, then they were going to force her.
Oh, my God.
Now, the couple quickly came up with a plan that they were going to kidnap Caroline and bring her back to the house. And on December 6th, they went into action. They drove around Gloucester all afternoon together, tracking Caroline's movements.
What the fuck?
And a little after 10 p.m., Caroline was hitching a ride from her boyfriend's house, and Fred and Rose pulled up and offered her a ride.
Oh, God. And she was probably like, I'm good.
Well, and she was like, I was definitely uncomfortable with both of them on more than one occasion, but they had never made her like overtly feel like she was in danger. She just felt icked out by them.
She was like, they're fucking weird, but like, I don't think they're going to do anything to me.
Exactly. So she accepted.
Oh no.
Because she said it was also very late and it was very cold. So it didn't take long though before Fred and Rose steered the conversation towards sex. And Fred asked whether Caroline had had sex with her boyfriend that evening. And she was like, this is weird. I'm not answering your question. Like, what the fuck?
Like, that's not your fucking business.
And then she looked around and realized, we're not going in the direction of my house, which I can't imagine that feeling. And to make matters worse, Rose was trying to touch her as this was happening, even though she was telling her repeatedly, stop.
Oh God, this is such a nightmare.
Now her panic turned to sheer terror when Fred parked the car in an empty field far from the city center.
Oh God.
Rose began attacking her, and she said it was her, she was like, the way she looked at me is
like animalistic.
Yeah. And Fred turned around to face her, called her a bitch, and started repeatedly punching her in the face until she lost consciousness. When she regained consciousness, she found that her hands had been tied behind her back, and Rose was wrapping brown packing tape around her head.
Oh my God.
So she was panicking. Fred started the car again and drove back to the West's house on Cromwell Street, where they spent the evening terrorizing, torturing, and violently assaulting Caroline.
Oh God, this poor girl. And all because she just was like, yeah, I don't want to work with you anymore.
Yep. And because I don't want to have sex with you, Rose.
Yeah, that part too.
Because when everything was done, they acted like nothing happened, took the tape off, and then Fred said, Rose is like this when she's pregnant. Because Rose is pregnant.
No. That's something out of a fucking horror film. Also the fact that they wrapped her head in plastic packing tape, is that what you said?
Like brown packing tape, yeah. Which that's like one of their hallmarks they do to people.
You get through all of that, and he just nonchalantly is like, yeah, Rose gets sadistic when she's pregnant. And then to think of like an unborn baby, like being there for all of that is so fucking weird and
the
fucked
kids
up.
are in the house. They could have seen this girl be carried in with packing tape on her face.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That place really is a house of like that doesn't even do it justice.
No. And it's been described as that many, many times, the House of Horrors.
Because what else do you even, what else do you
call it? Because it truly
it?
is. I mean, it's a house of horrors. Like that is I can't think of a worse house than this. But Caroline played along at this point in hopes that she might be able to escape.
Smart.
She went as far as helping them clean up the house after everything.
Oh my God.
After being violently assaulted. When they finished cleaning, she played with Heather and Anna for a little while because they were there.
Oh my God. And I can't imagine.
Yeah.
After all that, sitting down on the floor and playing with their children.
Just pretending to play with the kids. And she told Fred and Rose that she would love to return as their nanny. And then agreed to join them at the laundromat. Because she was just trying, like, that's survival. That's just like, I got to do what I got to do to get the fuck out of here.
That's on another level of survival.
And that's on some disassociation.
And then to get back in a car with them and hope you're going to the laundromat. Yeah.
So they did. They drove to the laundromat. And as soon as they parked, Caroline saw the opportunity, jumped out as soon as the door was open and yelled, I'll see you tomorrow, and just ran. And when she made it home, Caroline's mother immediately knew something was wrong with her daughter.
Of course.
Which was very obvious by just talking to her, but also she had bruising and other injuries on her arms and legs from the whole thing. And Caroline remembered, though, that Fred told her, I'll kill you if you tell anyone. So she was reluctant to say what had happened. But in time, she did tell her mother, and her mother immediately reported the assault to police. Now, this should be it, right? That should be the end of Fred and Rosemary West.
100,000 gajillion%, but it's the 70s.
Yeah.
So
when investigators showed up at Fred and Rose's door a few days later, their questioning was met with just denials and defiance. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And in cases like this, particularly in a pre-feminist era, it was just a matter of one person's word against another.
It's like, look at her injuries.
Yeah. So Rose felt
Getting scared is one thing. Getting a thrill is, well, you want more of those in your life. The Genesis GV70 is built to thrill, baby. A thrilling yet elegant design always makes driving the GV70 an exciting adventure. Its powerful athletic stance screams performance and turns heads. Everybody's looking at you, girl, or boy, or whoever. Command the road and experience a class-leading standard 300 horsepower. Oh my God. Plus, discover the different dynamic drive modes for all different terrains. Choose between the different terrain modes for whatever road conditions you may encounter. The Genesis GV70's award-winning technology and performance lets you drive with comfort and drive with confidence all at the same time. It's an exciting SUV with intuitive tech that can make your ride smooth even when the road isn't. And its blind spot cameras allow you to see what's next to you. It's like having eyes on the side of your head. That's pretty iconic. Its performance, by the way, is measured not only in power, but in how it makes you feel confident, sexy. The Genesis GV70. Learn more at genesis.com and feel the GV70. The best summer pieces are the ones you end up wearing on repeat. Comfortable, versatile, and somehow right for almost every occasion. Quince makes it easy to create a summer wardrobe that you'll love, with elevated essentials made from premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, without the traditional retail markup. I love that! Quince's 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops are the pieces that you absolutely will reach for all summer long. I absolutely love their linen. I have so many pairs of their linen pants, which you can dress up or you can dress down in the summer. Like, say you're going to a nice dinner, you can pair it with like a silk shirt, a really cute necklace, some good, makeup and an updo. Or if you're just looking for a more casual look, you can do the linen pants with like a loose button-up shirt and you still look really chic, kind of like, I don't know, Diane Keaton vibes, I kind of think. Also, it's not just apparel. Quince also offers elevated essentials for your home, from bedding and bath to kitchen essentials and furniture. They have it all, honey. I am a big lover of Quince, and I really do think you will be too. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier. Go to quince.com/morbid for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/morbid for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/morbid.
Confident that the accusations nothing would come of them. So she said, sure, you can search my car. They searched in the car and they found a button from Caroline's coat and a partially used roll of packing tape, which lined up with what she said.
Yup.
So the Wests were brought in for further questioning and both eventually admitted to the entire thing.
Wait, they admitted to that?
Yeah.
And then
the case went to trial in early January. And the defense was relentless in their attempts to completely undermine the charges and minimize the severity of the whole thing.
But y'all, they admitted to it.
Oh, well, they used the defense that was used in many a sexual assault case. Caroline was just framed as having offered passive cooperation.
What?
And was characterized as a willing participant.
Yeah, totally a willing participant in having my fucking head wrapped in packing tape.
And Fred and Rose are just a harmless couple who maybe got like a little impulsive. That's all.
Maybe got a little impulsive.
Yeah. So just after a few days, the judge, if we can call this person a judge.
Not the honorable.
Considered the evidence and said, quote, "We do not think that sending you to prison will do you any good." And then gave them a fine of £25 and said, bye. Go back to your home with your children.
Yeah.
You know what Caroline had to say about that? And I don't blame her. It made me feel like I wasn't worth anything.
That's awful that she felt that way after everything she'd
honestly,
gone through.
Fuck that judge. Fuck Fred and Rosemary. Like, fuck you guys. Fuck that judge.
Because can you imagine?
I don't think putting you in prison will do you any good. How you feel about that?
Yeah, now.
How'd that pan out?
Honestly,
I hope I would every fucking day say, if I knew that judge, I would literally just walk up to him every day, once a day, and just say, "We do not think that sending you to prison will do you any good." I would say it once a day.
And then just turn your head and go,
huh?
Widen your eyes like,
huh?
Yeah.
And then I come back again the next day at noon and say the same thing for the rest of his life.
But poor Caroline, too, because you hear about this all the time. It's like people put their faith in the legal system. And a lot of times, luckily, it does pan out. But the times where it doesn't, and especially way back when, and to sit in that scene and realize there's nobody going to protect me from stuff like this. this could happen to me again, and this very thing could pan out just like this.
And they'll just claim that I said it was okay, and everybody will just believe them.
How scary.
Like, that's
How scary.
horrifying.
How do you come to terms with that?
Horrifying.
And how do you go about living the rest of your life without being the most paranoid individual, even if that's already happened to you,
And
regardless of a judgment? But then to put the judgment hand in hand with that.
The emotional damage that comes after that, I can't even conceive of.
For life.
In
For
my
life.
worst nightmares, I can't conceive of it. And these people just say, sure, you two, go back to your home with your 4 kids. Like,
It's
what the
gross.
fuck is wrong with you?
It's gross.
So, with each new act of depravity that they committed, Rose proved to Fred that she was as much a willing participant in the violence that as he was. Like, every time he was like, I saw it more and more that she was just as into this.
I don't know that. I mean, it doesn't really sound like what happened to Caroline would have if Rose didn't feel how she felt.
No. And it was the assault on Caroline Owens that demonstrated to Fred that Rose's limits and tolerance for violence were actually far greater than he anticipated.
I don't think the limit existed.
It does not. In fact, when Fred was interviewed by police in 1994, he admitted that the assault almost certainly would have ended in Caroline's murder, but she managed to escape before they could.
Yeah.
He was like, we were going to kill her.
100%. Not a doubt in my mind.
And they decided, he said, we decided then and there that that was the last time we would let that happen. Her escaping.
Wow.
So Fred and Rose turned their attention back to Linda Goff.
That's their nanny.
That's their new nanny. Now, by early 1973, Linda was no longer having a relationship with the lodger Benjamin at the West House or any of the other ones. And her job as a seamstress wasn't really going well. And so when Rose suggested that she move into their house and become the full-time nanny, she jumped at the opportunity. In late April, Linda's mother, June, returned home one afternoon to find that Linda had packed up all her things and left. And she had left a note that said, "Dear Mom and Dad, please don't worry about me. I've got a flat and I will come and see you sometime. Love, Lynn." Now, it's unclear exactly how things unfolded once Linda moved into the West House, and this was in the last week of April, but she was there less than a month. So things escalated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
When the Cromwell Street house was eventually excavated after the arrests, Linda's body was discovered alongside a, quote, mask of wound adhesive tape. They made a mask out of it, similar to the one that had been wrapped around Caroline Owens' face and head. And investigators found several of Linda's hairs stuck in the tape,
Oh my God.
leading them to conclude that she had been abused in a very similar way to Caroline.
Yeah.
The prosecution later told the jury, the circle of masking tape found with the remains provides the clearest evidence that Linda Goff was naked and gagged. This provides striking and remarkable features of similarity with Caroline Owens, and the only common sense conclusion is of sexual abuse before death.
I just don't understand how that judge looked at that act alone, wrapping her head up in masking tape.
Like, that's such a specific pathology to me.
Yeah.
Like, that takes a specific pathology of person, and for them to just ignore that is wild.
To not be shocked by that?
That should make you go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who the fuck are you two that you did this to this person? Like, you telling me she was willing or not? Wait a second.
Like, that's not...
Wait a second.
That's not a kink. That's not
Like-
BDSM. That's not any of the above. To be able to wrap somebody's head up in masking tape who's unwilling...
Yeah.
I don't really know that anybody that would be willing.
Yeah. And either way, like, she was not a willing
And she
participant in
wasn't.
that. Now, once Linda was dead, Fred had dismembered her body and buried her under the carport in the yard and covered over her remains with stones, dirt, metal, and other debris. As with several of the other sets of remains that we'll see, there were small bones missing from the body when they were finally exhumed.
That's
like
bizarre.
finger and toe bones.
So they were tortured.
Rose, meanwhile, had gone through Linda's belongings and kept some stuff for herself, some clothing and jewelry, and then just got rid of the rest. And it gets worse because Linda, like we'd said, people who knew her and grew up with her said she was a defiant, very headstrong child. So when she left home in April, her parents decided to kind of give her some space before trying to convince her to come back home.
Yeah.
Her mother said, her father and I felt, let her have her head for a bit, she'll be back.
Which
That's what June Goff
They've
said.
gone through that before, so you can understand.
But when 3 weeks had passed and they still hadn't been able to get in touch or heard from her, June became concerned and started calling Linda's friends. Few people had any details of where she had gone, but June was able to narrow her search down to Rose West after having seen her car on one occasion when she came to pick up her daughter. So June knocked on the West door, and Rose answered wearing Linda's slippers.
No.
And this disturbed June alone.
Of course.
But she said she looked past Rose into the backyard and she could see some of her daughter's clothing hanging on the line to dry.
Oh my God.
And Rose said she stayed with us for a little bit, but after a few days, she said something like she was going to stay at a local hotel, so she's just gone.
But I
wearing
washed
her slippers
clothes.
with her clothing on the line back there. So she was walking around that house wearing Linda's slippers after whatever the fuck they had done to her.
Oh my God. And her poor mom.
Seeing those slippers on her feet. And she's a mom. You
Yeah,
got
she
mom
knows.
intuition. You know something bad happened here.
And to see all your daughter's clothes on a clothing line out back. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's beyond. I keep saying that, but
It-
I don't
it
have
is.
another response.
But June Goff and her husband would go on to report their daughter missing to the local authorities, and they would spend years searching for her at Salvation Armies, other service organizations, anywhere they could think that she could be, until finally learning of her fate in the mid-1990s. And for those who did know Linda was staying at the West's house, like the handful of lodgers that were there, Rose told them that Linda had been asked to leave after she hit one of the children.
Wow. So just smeared her name in the
Yeah.
process. That's nice.
And just deflected what she does.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to leave it here for now because there's a lot more that's going to be in part 3 that's...
Yeah, and this was heavy enough on its own.
But they're just...
The fact that people like this exist on the earth.
And I think you add in the idea that they are just consistently bringing children into this as well.
And that they're, like you said, their children are home during this.
Are used as pawns, are being abused themselves.
Hearing
are being,
stuff.
And as we'll find out, they're being sexualized themselves by their own parents. This is really bad.
It's a house of horrors.
It is a house of
It
horrors.
is.
It truly is. Now I knew this case. I knew some of the bad, horrible things in this
Same.
case, but diving deeper into it.
Yeah, I didn't know everything. I don't think I knew the detail about the slippers. I don't know if my psyche saved itself, but I think I forgot about the packing tape of it all.
No, it's
so
honestly,
sad.
it's beyond comprehension. It really is. It's beyond comprehension.
And it's crazy that, because you hear of a case like this and you're like, wow, it's so fucked that two people like this exist in this world.
Found each other.
And found each other. But then you think of it and you think of all the other cases that we've covered.
Yeah.
And it's not just two people like this
not
that exist
that-
in the world.
yeah.
People in general just exist in this world that are capable of things like this. And that is the fucking scariest thing to me.
It is. It just I want to hug my kids.
Yeah.
Every time I do one of these, I'm like, excuse me, I'm going to go downstairs and hug them.
Honestly.
Oh,
These are the ones that I talk about in therapy.
right. This one's a rough one. But again, these kids lived through this.
Yeah.
And some of these women lived through this.
So it's important to tell their
So it's like
stories. Absolutely.
These fucking monsters.
Oh my
True
God.
monsters.
Well, go hug your children.
Yeah.
Do something nice for someone.
Yeah.
Do something good for your psyche
Yeah.
after this. I don't think it's good necessarily to end the day on this.
Do some self-care.
Yeah. Do a little pedicure or something.
Yeah, just literally anything that makes you feel a little lighter. Go do that.
Definitely.
'Cause I'm gonna.
And we hope you keep listening.
And we hope you
Keep
it
weird. You know I'm not going to say it for this one.
Not this one.
Traditional home security only alerts you after a break-in, and that's too late. Simply Safe is changing that.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
We don't just alert, we stop crime before it starts. Simply Safe, plan starting around $1 a day. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
Talk about regrets. We all know someone who's been in a car accident and said, I don't need to call a lawyer, only to regret it after their pain and damages were worse than expected. When someone hurts you, you deserve to be compensated fairly. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm, fighting for the people for over 35 years. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com/podcast. That's forthepeople.com/podcast. Their fee is free unless they win.